You're listening to JTE Movie Thinks. Is that the title? Is that correct grammar? All right, we'll go with it. It's a show about movies and thinking. And now, here's your host, every man's hero, JTE.
Hey everybody, what's going on? JTE here with a brand new episode of JTE Movie Thinks. First of all, I just want to thank everybody who's been listening. I've been hitting the top 100 in TV and film, which is amazing to me because I never thought I'd even break the top 300, so that's great. So here we have a very special episode of JTE Movie Thinks, because if it wasn't for this man, this podcast would not be possible, or I'd be doing it in my grandmother's basement. Today we have one of the dynamic duos, Mr. Mark Ellis. Hello, Mark.
So this is what you're doing when you're not engineering our show? You're doing your own little podcast? Who authorized this?
I got authorization from Cody. Is that who I was supposed to go to?
No, you know what? And I look at you in a completely different light after seeing Movie Night.
Movie Night.
If you listeners haven't checked it out yet, film that JTE, Cody, and Copster made called Movie Night, it blew my mind how funny it was. And I don't throw out compliments like that. I watched it, I was like, oh, let's see how cute this thing is. Dude, it was hysterical, and you were a great actor in the film. You were great.
Please keep going.
The comic timing was incredible. The way it was directed, everything, it was a 10. I didn't know Cody had that much personality.
Oh, really?
I didn't know Copster could be that funny. And again, your acting chops. You had the full range. You went from comedy to drama.
I don't think I'm a very good actor. I did a lot in film school because I'd get together with my friends on the weekends. This is what you do. When you go to film school, the best thing about it is being around a bunch of people that want to make movies.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned when I left film school, it's hard to find people that want to make movies.
It's hard to find like-minded individuals who will put that much effort into it.
Exactly. And you don't really know that many actors, so you kind of just end up acting it yourself because it's easier than working with an actor and trying to get what you want when you know what you want. And you just kind of go out there and do it yourself. Again, I don't think I'm a very good actor, but
watch Movie Night.
I've done it out of necessity. Thank you very much. All right, so this is a very fun podcast for me, Mr. Ellis, because I never know what movie's going to come at me.
So every guest you have on here, you don't know the movie that we're going to talk about.
No.
Do I know the movie we're going to talk about?
You do, and this is how it works. I wanted this podcast to be a way to talk about not just new films, but older films too, and maybe bring some films to light that not people have seen. So what I asked the question to everybody is, it's going to be a little different for you, because you being one of the schmoes and one of being the only critics on YouTube to be Rotten Tomatoes certified, you actually have to go see these movies.
Yeah.
So I want to take the whole theater experience out of this, because it's your job. You have to go to the theater to see movies. I want to know what's the last movie you had to watch, whether it be on a plane, because you're often traveling.
Yeah.
Whether it be on a bus, on your iPhone, maybe on an iPad, maybe.
I don't watch a lot of movies on the bus anymore.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't find myself in that situation that much, but
that's my life. But what's the last movie you just actually threw on Netflix or threw in the DVD player?
So everybody else on the show tells about the last theater experience they had.
No,
and I'm gonna look like a jackass because I'm gonna talk about a movie that could be 30 years old.
That's not true. I leave that option open to them.
Oh,
the only thing I'm doing with you is taking the option away because of what you have to do.
You're handcuffing me. Well, look. Yeah. Okay, and I'm going to make you guess what you think the movie is, just because it's fun. Okay. I wish it was a film that I know that we both love and celebrate. I wish I could come in here with a Cobra or a Hard Target. There's two movies on my DVR that I wish, and not that I don't like the movie we're going to talk about, but I wish I have DVR'd Hot Shots, which is a comedy classic that I've seen 100 times, and it was on TV, and I DVR'd it because I want to experience it again. Haven't seen it yet.
It's an amazing movie.
I haven't seen it for this time yet. And another one that's on my DVR that I wish I'd gotten around to is a film I've never seen for whatever reason. I'm a huge Michael Keaton fan. Never seen Pacific Heights.
I've never seen Pacific Heights either.
Matthew Modine, I believe Melanie Griffith is in it, and he plays like a crazed tenant of a bit. So I can't wait to see that. Those aren't the movies we're talking about.
Can I ask you one more question about Michael Keaton?
Sure.
Have you seen Dream Team?
I have seen Dream Team.
Okay, I'm just curious, because that's one of those movies I usually bring up with Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
And people don't really hear about it.
It slipped through the cracks for whatever reason in his career because it was sandwiched between Beetlejuice and Batman. But that's actually a lot of things that Michael Keaton brings to the table, is that rise to anger and that brooding, there's something going on behind those eyes mentality, and it's perfect in Dream Team. Great cast.
Yeah, so all right, man, let's hear it. I'm excited.
Well, guess. I want you to guess.
Okay, well,
I'll give you a hint.
You gotta give me some hints.
Is that if you were at Blockbuster today, may it rest in peace, and you would find yourself in the comedy section.
Okay. Which
and it came out in the decade known as the 1990s.
Okay, so comedy from the 90s.
Yes.
Are you gonna give me something else? Because that's a lot of movies.
It's not a spoof film. I love spoof movies. I sing their praises. It's not a spoof film. It's more of a, your whole family would be able to enjoy this. It's a higher brow kind of comedy.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of stuff that I've seen on TV lately. That is something you might have caught on TV. I saw The Ref on TV the other day.
Good movie.
Is it The Ref?
It's not The Ref, no.
Which is a good movie.
Yeah, some of Dennis Leary and Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey. Is there an actor in this movie who's iconic when it comes to comedy?
Absolutely. He's iconic, not necessarily just with comedy. He can do everything. He can do drama. He can do comedy.
I'm thinking Bill Murray.
It's not a Bill Murray film, no. Not that synonymous with just comedy.
All right, I give up. What is it?
The director is Ivan Reitman.
Oh, I love Reitman.
And the name of the film
wait, the 90s is not a great decade.
Is Dave.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave is the last movie that I watched.
This is a very good movie. Directed by, again, Reitman with Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver.
Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver. It's got a great cast overall, but those are your stars. And Kevin Kline plays a man who looks a lot like the president. Okay. The real president, kind of a douche, has a stroke and is in a coma, and so because they don't want the public to go into panic, the fact that the leader of the free world is incapacitated.
He has like a stroke while having sex or an affair.
That's right, yeah.
On Sigourney Weaver, the first lady.
Yeah, he's cheating on Sigourney Weaver with this other bimbo, and so they recruit this guy named Dave, played by Kevin Kline, who's just a small town dude, and he ends up playing the role of the president. And once he gets into the White House, zaniness ensues.
All right, here we go. I am pulling this up on IMDb. This is what I do now every time I find out what the movie is. So just like you said, to avoid a potentially explosive scandal when the U.S. president goes into a coma, an affable temp agency owner with an uncanny resemblance is put in his place. I saw this in theaters, Mr.
Did you really?
Yes, did you?
No, I did not. No, I caught it. I guess I remember it coming out, but I didn't catch it until it was, I believe it was a video rental for me.
A video rental, okay. Who's the bad guy in this movie? Oh, Frank Langella.
Frank Langella
is also known as Skeletor.
A sniveling rat in this film. He's so good in that role. I actually, it took me a while to like Frank Langella as an actor because that was the first time I had seen Frank Langella, and he was just he's such a dick in it, and it's like it's almost like Matt Damon. The first time I saw Matt Damon was in School Ties. And he's such a weasel in that I actually hated Matt Damon's face. Like to borrow a popular phrase from Christian, it's like I hate that dude's face. So I didn't like Good Will Hunting for a minute because I had to get adjusted to rooting for Matt Damon. So now I like Frank Langella. I think he's a fantastic actor of stage and screen, but here he's so evil.
And see, the funny thing is when it comes to actor, when they break into Good Will Hunting was Matt Damon's breakthrough film. I saw School Ties before that, but I didn't make the connection that it was Matt Damon. Yeah. So it was like after I saw Good Will Hunting, I would go back and watch School Ties. Like, oh, it's Matt Damon was this guy. And Ben Affleck's in there too.
That he is.
Yeah, they always teamed up. All right, so Ivan Reitman. First of all, one of my favorite comedy directors, Stripes, is one of my all-time favorite. I mean, Ghostbusters is a no-brainer. But I love Stripes. Twins. I love Twins. Junior will not speak of.
Here's a fun fact too. Is that in between? I believe Junior came out after Dave, and in between Twins and Junior, Arnold Schwarzenegger makes a cameo.
I was gonna bring that up.
Because there's a thing he's doing a PR thing, and Schwarzenegger's doing the fitness for kids thing, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's in the movie, and I'm like, oh, that's right. He loved working with Ivan Reitman that much. You know who else is in it in a very small role?
I think I know.
Catherine Reitman, and it's not Girl with Puppy. And I remember I was because her name's in the credits, and I can't remember what it says. It's like Girl in the Store or something like that. But it was good to see our old buddy Catherine's name in there.
I gotta revisit this movie because even though I did see it in theaters and I remember it fairly well, it has been a while since I've seen it. And this is one of those movies I feel like if you caught it on TBS or HBO or Showtime, you immediately, it's so easy just to get lost in it. You'll stop, you'll watch it. And
that's what happened to me.
That's what happened to you?
You disappear in it because you're watching it. You also want to see how it holds up comedically, which it does. It's still a fantastic watch, just as a fun movie. And then politically, you're also thinking, like, how would this play out in real life? Because it's not that, unfeasible to think, like, oh, well, what if something happened to our current president? They pluck somebody who looked exactly like him, and then that guy starts making decisions. It's like, oh, shit, now we really shot ourselves in the foot. Because it wasn't bad enough that the president was banging some chick who's not his wife and had a stroke. It's even worse if they found out the government placed a dude to act as the president when in fact he had no political training whatsoever.
let me ask you something, because this was early 90s, I think mid-90s, right?
Yeah, early 90s. Yeah, I think 93 maybe.
Could this premise work today? Because here's the thing, with the way technology has advanced with social media, the president is easily the most recognizable person in the world. Do you you do have to stretch your imagination a little bit to think they'd find somebody that is exactly good enough where he could fool the whole world to thinking it was the president.
You'd have to update it a little bit with the way that the way that his face looks and all that stuff. I mean, I think the biggest plot hole with Dave is that he goes back into obscurity. You know, as things play out in the film, and it's like, well, no, now like all of everybody else in his life, because the excuse that he gives his temp agency is that he's going to like Cancun for a month or something like that, and it's like then he suddenly shows up, and then somebody in his town is going to put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah,
eventually,
so.
you know, but. Having said that, what's really funny is that there's also another cameo in the film, is that when there's this presidential resurgence and everybody's like, hey, he has all this newfound energy and he's coming off a stroke because it's Kevin Kline is the president, is Larry King is interviewing Oliver Stone. And Oliver Stone is playing his, biggest conspiracy theory director self, and he says that if you look at pictures before and afterwards, it's not the same guy, and that's what he's inferring, and so it's funny to see that.
Yeah, they poke fun at it a little bit. And I feel like if they did this today, we would have to have that scene from John Woo's Face Off, where they're having surgery, because it could have been done. He was in a coma. They could have basically just did something like that. That's, I feel like, the only way this premise would kind of work today.
Dave holds up a lot better than Face Off.
No. Yeah. Blasphemy, my friend.
Face Off is...
Last week, Guilty Movie Pleasures just did an episode on Face Off. It was amazing.
And I loved watching that episode. I saw that movie in the theater. It's a fun movie to celebrate. My biggest problem with Face Off, really quick, because I love bitching about this whenever you get a chance.
Okay, please.
The obvious use of stuntmen instead of the real thing.
Yes,
this whole goddamn movie is about how we can take somebody's face and put it on somebody else, yet it's the most obvious non-Nicolas Cage and non-John Travolta stuntman of all time. Go back and watch the movie. It's clearly just a dude on a roof, and it's not that guy. It takes you out of the movie.
Well, here's the thing. The scene where it comes most blatant to me is like when they jump off the boat.
Yes.
And it's like super slow motion, and the stuntmen,
it's just a dude.
They're doing their best to try to hide their face, but at one point he's just yelling at the camera.
Yeah.
And you're like, that is a stuntman. One reason I blame this, because I think in the theater, I didn't notice it as much.
I noticed it so bad in the theater.
In the theater? Because I didn't notice it until high-definition televisions and
that's probably even worse.
Blu-rays. That's when I was like, oh, all those little tricks you could kind of get away with stunt guys back in the day. Not anymore, because everything's in high def.
I still like that movie a lot. It's still a fun action movie. The other thing about that is that's maybe like you never, the first time you see a comic, you don't realize that they have material, and that they're using that material night after night and honing it, and so they're going to say the same jokes, right?
Yeah.
John Woo does that a lot too, because he uses the exact same trick that he did in Hard Target with the gasoline can in the shot, and then they do the same thing. So that's another thing that I picked up.
Here's the thing: John Woo has signature, and I like a director, even if he overuses them sometimes. Like Wes Anderson could be accused of that. You at least know it's a John Woo film, whereas if you watch a Burt Ratner movie, you have no idea unless his name comes up as Burt Ratner, or the movie's pretty bad.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, going back to Dave and Ivan Reitman, it's like you just trust that guy. When that guy's making a comedy, you just trust that he's going to hit all the notes. And even in something as recent as Draft Day, which I liked a lot, it was surprising, because some of the NFL stuff, it's like, this doesn't really go down that way.
Gotcha.
Like the coaching staff it's probably why the Cleveland Browns are like they are. I mean, it's ridiculous that the guys on draft day are like on draft day when you have to decide the future of your team. These guys are like looking at like clips of the dude's wife, and they're not like looking at any other pick other than but having all the comedic moments in draft day, which there's a lot of them. He hits those notes out of the park, and that's what he does with Dave. It's such an enjoyable Saturday afternoon movie to watch.
I totally agree, and I feel like that era of 90s movies, even 80s movies, we don't really get too many films like that these days.
No, you don't. I mean, it seems like comedies are so self-aware now. Like even the ones that I really love, like something like 22 Jump Street, that's winking at itself, and the entire movie, and other films that are like that. Like I'm looking at Hot Tub Time Machine 2 is coming out later this year, which looks really funny from the trailers, but again, it looks like it's very self-aware of it, and Dave doesn't do that at all. It just kind of has faith that it's a good premise, and we're going to make you laugh, or else you're just going to enjoy watching this guy on screen. And Kevin Kline never gets quite mentioned. He's a Hall of Famer for sure, right?
That's what I was curious, because when I said, iconic comedian, Kevin Kline doesn't jump to like my,
Oh, I mean, he was in another
forefront.
really funny movie called A Fish Called Wanda.
Well, yeah,
and
the dude's funny. Don't get me wrong.
Him in Las Vegas, he stole Las Vegas.
I didn't
from me.
see that.
Las Vegas, you got Morgan Freeman, Michael Douglas, Robert De Niro, and Kevin Kline. So when you look at that foursome, it's like, okay, well, Kevin Kline he's a great actor, but he's not as iconic as those guys. He stole that movie to me.
When I ask you, like, when I say Kevin Kline, what's the first movies that popped to your head? Is it Dave? Is it A Fish Called Wanda?
It's Dave. It's In and Out. It's
In and Out with Tom Selleck.
It's French Kiss.
Wow, see, I never saw that either.
Because he does a French accent that really, I think, put people off at the time, and critics panned it because it's like, it's not a real French guy, he's just doing this silly accent. But I think when you watch the movie now, you can kind of actually tolerate it more than you could at the time. That's
not a movie I would ever see myself like going back to watch. French Kiss.
Yeah. Kevin Kline is, but he's just always watchable. He never leaps out at anybody, but he's got such a sneaky comedian vibe about him. And there's a really underrated movie called Orange County.
Oh yeah, of course, with Jack Black and Colin Hanks.
Yeah, and now that I think about it, was that his son directed that? Did Jason Reitman do that?
Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah, the IMDb in front of you, damn it.
I will check. Orange County.
Yeah, because there's so many funny moments. And Kevin Kline plays the esteemed professor of Stanford that Colin Hanks goes and he has a nice talk with, and he learns he can be a writer anywhere. And that's an underrated movie. For all you guys listening to movie things, go check out Orange County. It's not great, but it's pretty damn funny.
It was directed by Jake Kasdan.
I knew it was a famous dude's son.
Yeah,
so
it's a famous dude's son.
I get partial credit.
Let me ask you a question. Do you remember the movie Soap Dish?
I do remember Soap Dish.
That's one movie when I think of Kevin Kline that comes to my mind because
great call.
I love Elizabeth Shue.
Oh, you and me
had
both,
a crush
brother.
on her since Karate Kid.
Still have it.
And it was her, Sally Field. Robert Downey Jr. has a great supporting role in that movie.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg, and then Kevin Kline in that movie. It's really him and Sally Field's story with Elizabeth Shue.
That's right.
And for some reason, that's the movie. Whenever I think of him, I always come to. He plays like this guy who's been a soap actor for like 20 years or something, like on a Day of Your Lives kind of show. And yeah, that's a really funny movie, which I think is kind of underrated.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's hard to get out of your head. Wild Wild West, which he was the supporting role to Will Smith, which I never actually ended up seeing. I remember even it's just one of the all-time disasters in film history. I've never forced myself to watch more than 5 minutes of it.
Let me tell you what happened to me with Wild Wild West real quick. Me and some friends went to go see the very first American Pie movie because it was a huge hit when it came out. It was a phenomenon. We got to the ticket booth. We all bought our tickets. I left my ID at home. And I could not convince the people at the movie theater that I was the same age as my friends.
It's nice to know that even before you were known as JTE, you were doing JTE-like things.
And so my friends were like, well, because I left my thing, I'm not going to tell them they can't go see American Pie.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there was nothing else playing around that time except for Wild Wild West, which happened to come out right around the same time.
You poor thing.
And I was like, okay, well, I'll go see Wild Wild West. I'll see you guys after the movie. And I'm thinking, well, I didn't know what I was prepared for.
It's Will Smith. He's in the prime of his career. I know. It's a fun Western. Kevin Kline's in it. Salma Hayek's in it. It's going to be a great No.
When I came out of that theater and they came out with that comedy
high-fiving each other.
High-fiving. Yeah. They were like, wow, it was so funny. You fucked the pie. And they were like, how's Wild Wild West? And I was like, part of me knew it was crap, but I wanted to sell it like it wasn't that bad, so I didn't seem like I missed out on everything. Yeah. So I was like, it was okay. Salma Hayek, she showed her rear end. That was pretty cool.
Does she show her ass in that?
Yeah, she does. There's a scene where she like turns around.
I guess
bottomless.
I'm now gonna watch.
The only thing I remember from the movie.
It's the only good thing.
Is exactly the only good thing. So,
it's like I remember seeing American Pie and having that feeling. I remember seeing There's Something About Mary and having that feeling. Yeah. Ace Ventura, a lot of the Jim Carrey movies where you're laughing so Nutty Professor with Eddie Murphy. You're literally high-fiving strangers in the theater because it's that funny. It's gut-bustingly funny. Yep. Dave is not that kind of movie, and that's not the goal of Dave. Dave is it's maybe the best family entertainment comedy. You can put it on, and your parents can be in the room, your grandparents can be in the room, and nobody's going to get offended. You're never going to feel weird about what the scenes that are happening. It's just it's a really enjoyable, it's a pleasurable viewing experience.
It has a lot of heart, which really comes through with the movie. You get to actually care for these characters and the predicament they're put in, and it almost has a John Hughes feel to it.
That's a great call. That's a great call. And there's a scene in particular where I feel like everybody can relate to what he's going through. Is when he's doing the budget, he calls in his friend Charles Grodin in a great role, and Grodin comes in. He's like, "Look, here's what you can do to try to balance the budget a little bit, so we don't have to cut funding for this program." And just the way that Kevin Kline, when he's in the room with all these politicos, and he's got his pad of paper and he's got his pencil, and he's just figuring out, and he's making a go of it, and he's got a smile on his face, and he's whistling at work, and you're watching this, and it's like that's how you want to be when you're doing your taxes or when you have to do work and you're trying to figure something out. The way he solves problems in that movie is the way that I feel like all of us are like when we're trying to solve problems.
He's very charming, and I think that's what comes across. And I love seeing the relationship between him and Sigourney Weaver, who doesn't realize at first. You would think anyone's going to notice. It's the wife.
It's a great subplot they built in, though, is that they hated each other. They barely can stand to be in the same room as each other.
Which is why she didn't catch on at first. Is because they were so distant before that she's not even paying attention to him. And it was not until she starts realizing, like, you know, that maybe that he's changed. And do you feel like she figures it out before? I'm trying to. Cause you saw the movie more recent than I have. How did exactly did she find
she
out?
tells him in the film when she figured it out. He wants it to be when she sees him in the shower for the first time.
That's
because
right,
she does double take when she sees how well endowed he is. Which, don't worry, you don't see any of this in the movie.
Yeah.
You see Salma Hayek's ass, which is weird. She's not even in the movie. But she does double take there. But then when they're kind of realizing that it's not him and they're starting to bond a little bit, they have a conversation where she reveals a different point in the film when she had her suspicions. So it's a fun thing to play off of. Rounding out the cast, by the way.
Yeah, Ving Rhames. Ving Rhames,
is the bodyguard,
the security guard.
Yeah, and it's a great kind of moral question in the film is that
because he knows.
He's aware, he's one of the inside guys because he knows that it's not the real guy. And so Dave asked him, he's like, so you take a bullet for the president? He's like, yeah, it's my job. He's like, well, would you take a bullet for me? And Ving Rhames like, I don't know. It's a fun...
It's almost like you'd have to appear to really sell it.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the movie, doesn't he say, I would take a bullet for him?
He does, yeah.
He does, right?
It's a nice...
I remember that moment.
Nice thing.
One joke that always sticks out to me, and I think this was maybe even the trailer, is he's at this auto plant where the hands mimic whatever the robots do, very Aliens type. And he does this great joke where he goes, I once caught a fish this big, and he puts his hands out and the robots are like, woo. It's such a cheesy joke, but it makes me laugh every time I hear it.
But it's not a cheesy joke in the film. It's supposed to be. It's what a president would try to do to relate to that, demographic. That constituency is what you would do. And then he starts doing the Louie Louie dance. And again, that's another scene where it's like, that's what I would do in that situation. When he's in the kitchen in the White House and he's making himself just the most delicious sub ever. That's what we would all do in that situation. So he's such a relatable presence.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about towards the end of the film, because this is where, while I remember several moments and key points, it's cloudy to me what happens at the very end of the film. I know they make him leave, and they basically say the president got in a wreck or something like that.
There's a scandal that unfolds, and it's unclear from the media's perspective who's to blame, and it's Frank Langella's character.
Does he get? So he does get caught.
He gets his comeuppance eventually, and the way that they kind of stage it is that he absolves the vice president. By the way, Ben Kingsley is the vice president.
That's right, yeah.
So he absolves the vice president of any wrongdoing, and then he pretends to have a coma and gets rushed to the hospital, and they do the old switcheroo, and so now it's back to the comatose president. Then he passes away. Then Ben Kingsley, who is a good and decent man, inherits the presidency.
And I believe Sigourney Weaver's character ends up going to the Dave, who was pretending to be the president, now like packing up his things.
Well, that's the other thing too, where it's like really that nobody's going to notice this because I think he's running for office. He's like running for the local whatever. That's what I was going to say. He was like a small politician. Nobody, and plus he hires Ving Rhames to be the bodyguard too. To be his.
See, I don't remember
so it's like I think people are going to put two and two together here. But yeah, by that point in the movie, it's almost like a time. I always say this about time travel movies is, if the movie can be so good that by the time you question the timeline, it doesn't matter anymore. Like Back to the Future, you don't care if this is actually the way time travel works because you're having such a good time watching the movie. Same thing with Dave.
Yeah, I think it's a very underrated film for Ivan Reitman. I don't think it gets brought up enough. And it's weird because the 90s, they had these movies where they do this thing where there's Volcano, and then there's Dante's Peak.
Yeah.
There's, Twister, then there's some other movies.
There's the two Columbus movies?
Yeah, the two Columbus movies. There was another film called The American President, which was... The plot was totally different, but it was about Michael Douglas as the president.
Very similar feels.
Similar feel, right?
They're both that family entertainment where the entire family can get something out of it. Now, The American President is more of a drama.
A little bit more of a drama.
But it's got a lot of romantic comedy elements to it. So that's also a movie that you get sucked in because it's got Michael Douglas in that Benny. Michael J. Fox is fantastic. So
What was the last movie about a president?
The last movie about a president?
Yeah, I'm curious because, again, there was a couple movies like that in the 90s.
That Lincoln film did all right. But as far as a fictional president,
like something where it's like the president is the main character.
Well, you could go with the action route, which was White House Down.
Jamie Foxx. No.
Yeah, which I hated, and then also the Olympus Has Fallen. Yeah, which I thought was fun.
I guess I'm looking. I mean, those are the action comedy, Die Hard ripoffs. I'm kind of looking at something kind of in lines of David, the American President.
Well, you keep changing the question. I keep giving you correct answers, then you keep massaging it so I'm not right anymore.
I'm just whittling down the wood until we get to the nail. So. What do you? I'm trying to think. Man, there's really nothing else like that really comes to mind.
It's a singular kind of comedy. I think it worked well for its day, and I think it does hold up very well today. Like, we did a couple weeks ago. We did Revenge of the Nerds for Guilty Movie Pleasures. Curtis Armstrong was great on the show.
That movie.
Booger's he's just the coolest. But when you watch that movie, there's a lot of things that are dated about it.
Okay.
What's interesting is that Booger's jokes still hit as hard today as they did back then, but a lot of the other stuff feels dated. Doesn't feel dated. Dave, there's a lot of it's gonna hold up for a long time, I think.
Yeah, I think if it's one of those movies, I always mention when people bring up movies to me that I haven't seen in a while, I think about whenever I go to Best Buy because I buy a lot of movies. I go to Target, I go to Walmart.
Buy a lot of movies.
I do, and
if you don't follow JTE on Twitter, make sure you do by next Black Friday because that kid eats his turkey and then he is at Best Buy loading up on Blu-rays.
It's one of those movies I never see on the shelf. I don't think it's available on Blu-ray yet, as far as I know.
I don't know if Dave's available on Blu-ray.
I always think about that. Like, why are some movies available? Like, I will see Revenge of the Nerds at Best Buy for $10. But Dave is one of those movies that I never see for sale anymore.
You know what? We should rig up a combo pack with Dave and the American President. That's genius idea.
Perfect. It'll be right next to the White House Down, Olympus Has Fallen.
That should definitely be a package, right? Remember when the concept of DVDs was brand new? They just threw like 4 really bad action movies onto one DVD. That. It's like get the best hits of Jeff Speakman on DVD.
The worst thing about it is I was at Target this past weekend and they had all these brand new 4-movie collections. It was like 4 movies, and usually 3 of them are crap, and there's one that's really good.
All right, well,
or sometimes there's 2 it's crap. It's like, is it worth getting those 2 just to get those other 2 crappy ones?
When we taped the Guilty Movie Pleasures, which I was just subbing for Makuga, Ben Bagley brought in the Revenge of the Nerds DVD, which was a combo pack. So I'm gonna make you rank these movies in order.
Okay, go hit me.
It is Porky's, Revenge of the Nerds, Weekend at Bernie's, and Bachelor Party.
I've seen all those movies.
As you should.
I'm going to put number 1, Revenge of the Nerds.
Okay.
I will go number 2. I'm going to put Weekend at Bernie's.
Okay.
I love that movie.
Okay.
I want to remake that with Ken Knapsack.
All right.
I do.
Starting to see why you saw Wild Wild West.
Number 3, I'll go Bachelor Party. And number 4, I'll go Porky's. Let me tell you something. If you asked me this maybe a month or 2 ago, I probably would have put Bachelor Party number 2.
Yeah.
I recently rewatched it about a month ago, and it didn't hold up for me as well.
What's shocking is that a movie about a guy who's passed away, who nobody figures it out, is still holds up better today than Bachelor Party. So Bachelor Party, I love me a young
Would you
Tom
put
Hanks.
Weekend at Bernie's over Bachelor Party?
I'm putting Bachelor Party at 4. I'm putting Weekend at Bernie's at 3. I'm putting Revenge of the Nerds at 2.
You are not putting Porky's at number 1, really?
Porky's is hysterical.
Listen, it is a very funny movie, but maybe I need to revisit it. But
you need to revisit it.
Okay.
In a classic JTE term, you need to rewatch that.
That.
Just alone for the scene when the coaches have to explain to the principal, they're talking about how maybe we should get a sketch artist to identify.
And they started cracking up.
Oh my God! Yeah. I was on the floor laughing the first time I saw it when I was in 7th grade. On the floor laughing today.
I saw Porky's 1 and 2 in theaters in South America.
Oh,
Listen to this story. So when my dad's from South America, so a lot of times we would take trips to South America growing up.
Yeah.
And down in Ecuador, almost every theater back then would always show 2 movies for the price of 1.
That's awesome.
I saw Superman Quest of Peace and some other movie, which was terrible. I can't remember what it was.
Superman Quest for Peace was no gem.
That was no good. And then Porky's 1 and 2, and I was fairly young. I don't think I probably should have saw it. My dad took me.
Yeah, that's
so I have a pretty good relationship with those movies, but I feel like when I went and revisited them, while they're still really funny, they're much cruder than I remembered. It's almost like...
It's very crude, but I just... it's something about the first Porky's. I never need to see 2 or 3 ever again. They didn't pop for me, but I love the first Porky's.
The first one is the one I remember the most, and again, I probably have to revisit it. But again, Bachelor Party is one of those movies I really dug growing up, but when I revisited it a couple months ago, a lot of the jokes fell flat for me this time.
It's still Barry Diamond's best work to this day. He's in Bachelor Party.
Do you think, if you were going to remake Dave today, who would you cast as Dave? Which actor working today do you think...
Kevin Kline?
Besides Kevin Kline, like, who would you think could actually pull that off today?
I think Greg Kinnear.
Greg Kinnear? What?
Is who I would cast.
That is like the weirdest pull I think I've ever...
I'm surprised I did
Greg Kinnear.
I'm actually impressed with myself that my synapse fired that quickly to get Kinnear out.
Seriously, it's like... Listen, I like Greg Kinnear. As good as it gets.
You need a guy that's young enough to be like a young president, and you also need a guy who's experienced enough to have some sort of clout, some sort of fatherly figure type to him. Even though Dave's not a father in the film, he has that warm sensibility that comes with that experience. So I think Kinnear is probably...
That's crazy that you pulled him.
I think he's the front runner.
What's the last movie he'd done?
He's done some smaller movies. He did
he did that kid...
Stuck in Love.
That was a while ago. He did that movie. This last movie was the kid that goes to heaven, or...
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember
Heaven is for Real.
Heaven is for Real. That's the last movie I remember seeing him in.
Yeah, which everybody listening out there...
I didn't see it.
You believe whatever the hell you want about religion. If you have a near-death experience and you see a white light, that's heaven, and you go to the white light. You don't take points off the board, because you don't know if you're ever going to be invited back to heaven. You know, what are you gonna say? Oh, sorry,
points off the board.
Sorry, I got to work on Monday. I can't come to heaven yet. Are you kidding?
It was a kid.
I don't care. That kid could grow up and be a drug dealer. We don't know what's gonna happen to that kid, and then he doesn't get into heaven anymore.
It's a good point.
Just think about it.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to answer my own question.
And this is a really fun show where I just sit here while you ask questions.
For some reason, Hugh Jackman kind of entered my mind. Even though he's Australian, do you think he could pull it off if he was doing an American accent?
Hugh Jackman can pull off anything.
We're not talking. Yeah, exactly.
Hugh Jackman can pull off anything. It's almost one of those things where he's just too yoked. He's just too ripped.
Well, but listen, he could play that back. You got to take the Wolverine aspect out of there.
There's no way that Hugh Jackman would go into a coma after having sex. Okay, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. He can regenerate himself. There's no way that he's gonna I can believe Greg Kinnear would be having too much sex and then pass out for a little bit. So
yeah, maybe if they made Dave today, they changed it and make a female president.
That would work. Very interesting.
And who would you cast for that?
Melissa McCarthy.
I was about to say Kristen Wiig.
No, I think Sandra Bullock would fit in that role.
I am with you on that one. That would be perfect.
I think Sandra Bullock would fit into that role. I think Viola Davis would fit into that role. I think Angela Bassett. We need to see more of Angela Bassett. So
yeah, I mean, a female president. I mean, it would have to be. It would probably be in a sci-fi action. No. I'm joking. I'm not sexist. It was a joke. Female president.
He's trying to high five me right now, and I'm not completing that high five because I love women. I think you guys are great at being leaders. I don't want to make decisions.
All right, guys. Well, I think this was a very informative podcast about a movie maybe some of you haven't seen. You forget a lot of our listeners are younger, and sometimes, like I said, this movie is not one of those movies you're going to find laying around a store.
Yeah,
you might actually have to, go. I never seen that. Maybe it's on Netflix once in a while.
Well, just get cable and just watch because TNT and TBS are going to air it a lot. And I saw it on HBO, and it was just on a Saturday, and it's a very very fun viewing experience.
I don't recommend people downloading movies illegally, but if you could find it on YouTube or something or a website, and you can't find it anywhere else, I say go for it because.
Funny you bring that up. I watched Revenge of the Nerds on YouTube.
Did you really?
Because it's not on Netflix either.
I have the Blu-ray.
So
you could have borrowed it.
I don't have a Blu-ray player.
See, people, he doesn't have a Blu-ray player.
I know that the way I dress and carry myself on the show makes me look like I'm rich.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
I could do a whole episode on why you don't have a Blu-ray player. We're not going to get into that right now. Thank you, Mr. Ellis, so much for coming on to JTE Movie Things.
Thanks for having me on the show, man. This is a great concept, and I'm glad that you're the guy piloting it. If you had a stroke after having sex with somebody and passed out, there's nobody, not Hugh Jackman, not Greg Kinnear, not
maybe
Kevin
Hugh
Kline
Jackman.
himself. Maybe Hugh Jackman could play the role of you, and I believe it. But
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else. Who's the best at English language? I want to get somebody who's like...
Yeah, who's a real... Let's get Benedict Cumberbatch to play JTE. Yeah.
I just want somebody, you know, step it up a little bit. All right, again, guys, thank you so much for listening. Do me a favor, if you're listening to this on iTunes, go and give me a 5-star rating if you think I gave you a 5-star podcast.
Yeah.
And with Mr. Mark Ellis, how is this not a 5-star?
Oh, come on.
Come on.
If you're at 4.5, hopefully I can round it up for you.
You can catch me on Twitter also at Schmoes JTE. Where can I find you, Mr. Ellis?
At Schmoes Know is our Twitter handle, and I am at 5150 Ellis. And you can also check out my new website, markellislive.com, for all my upcoming tour dates.
Is this where you just like you always like you go home and put the webcam on you and you just talk into the website?
A lot of nudes.
A lot of nudes?
A lot of Anthony Weiner posing, flexing.
Okay.
So,
Anthony Weiner.
In addition to the tour
I like
dates.
how that you brought it back to Dave in a way with that Anthony Weiner joke.
I'm a very political guy. See, people don't see that side of me.
They don't.
I'm wearing a suit right now.
He is. All right, guys. And yeah, go catch this guy do stand-up comedy. Get to the Castle.
Get to the Castle.
It's a great
while you're
album.
on iTunes, you just search Mark Ellis and get to the Castle. And please subscribe, if you haven't already, to our YouTube show, Schmoes Know.
And that's a play on the Metroid? Is that the classic game on the...
Invader.
Oh, it was Invader. Get to the Castle.
Space Invaders.
Invaders
is what's on Get to the Castle.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then Super Mario is the cover. So
that's it. Yep. I don't know my video. I had a Sega. I was a Genesis guy.
You're a Genesis kid.
Yeah,
I was some Altered Beast.
All right, that's gonna do it. I loved Altered Beast.
Golden Axe is better, but they were both great.
I'm with you on Golden Axe. All right, guys, thanks again for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode. Who will it be? What movie will it be? I don't know.
Probably me again.
All right, guys, see you later.